Hello to everyone, and welcome to my channel all about the U.S. In my videos here, we will share information about the U.S. size, its population and government, what it costs to live in the U.S., how much a worker can be paid to work in the U.S. We will talk about health benefits and health care costs in the U.S. We will talk about retirement, education, immigration to and from the U.S., senior citizen benefits, and so much more. And if there is anything that you would like to know about, please put it in the comments, and I'm pleased to give you that information. It is my pleasure to share with you. And I want to say that in my cost of living video, we talked about, depending on the city where you live, that the monthly costs, including a car payment for a family of 3 people, let's say 2 adults and 1 young child, is on average about $2,800 a month to live in a smaller city or in a rural town, as we say in the country, and up to $3,900 a month monthly costs to live in a bigger city. In this video, I am sharing with you what the average pay for a worker in the U.S. can be. With using a lower end average of $3,300 a month to live in the U.S. for this family of 3, 2 adults and 1 child, the question would be, how much money can be earned each month by a full-time 40-hour-a-week worker? And to answer that question, we see that there are 2 categories of workers in the U.S., and each one has different average monthly amounts of income. And these 2 categories are white-collar and blue-collar. Blue-collar and white-collar jobs are 2 distinct classifications of employment that differ in terms of the type of labor involved, where the work is being done, and the level of education required. Blue-collar jobs tend to require manual, or as we say, physical labor, and working with hands and tools. And the work is mostly done in factories, in warehouses, in outdoor settings, construction sites, and in people's homes. A blue-collar worker is a person who performs manual labor or is involved with one of the skilled trades, for example, an electrician, a carpenter, or a plumber. And these jobs are usually physically taxing, sometimes dangerous, and may require specialized skills, apprenticeships, credentials, and, like I say, specific training. Some examples of blue-collar jobs include construction workers, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, welders, machinists, heating and air conditioning technicians, truck drivers, mechanics, miners, factory workers, cleaning service jobs, and farmers. Now, there is a wide range as to what a blue-collar professional can earn. On the lower end, the annual pay is between $15,000 a year and $35,000 a year for cashiers, home health aides, fast food service workers, janitors, day laborers, housekeepers, nannies, security guards, and jobs like this. This is to say, on the lowest end, which is meaning that in the U.S., the federal government sets a minimum wage. An employer cannot pay an employee less than the minimum wage, which is currently $7.25 per hour. So if you're working that 40-hour work week, minimum wage $7.25 an hour, you would earn $1,250 a month. And on the higher end, working above minimum wage, 40-hour work week, for kind of a typical lower end blue collar worker, you would earn $2,916 a month. However, each state has its own minimum wage. For example, here in Florida, the basic minimum wage is $12 an hour, and it will go up $1 an hour each year until it reaches $15 an hour in the year 2026. So to give you a good likely hourly wage on a lower end blue collar job would be $11 an hour. So a work week in the US is typically 40 hours a week times multiplying 4.33 weeks in a month. That would mean that worker would earn $1,905 a month. So it's an average kind of lower ended blue collar job. Could be a nanny, could be a cashier, could be someone that's in cleaning services. They would have an annual income of $22,800 a year, or $1,905 per month. Now, mid-range blue-collar work can bring incomes anywhere from $35,000 to $55,000 a year, and sometimes more. Now, these jobs include local truck drivers, for example, UPS, FedEx, and Amazon drivers, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, heating and air conditioning technicians, car repair people, welders, machinists, bus drivers, Lyft or Uber drivers, and full-time bartenders and restaurant servers. On average, these jobs, with some paying a little bit more, some a little bit less, will earn approximately $21.65 an hour, equaling $3,750 a month. This would bring an annual income of $45,000. The top end of blue-collar compensation ranges from $55,000 to $100,000 and sometimes more. And these workers include power line installers, elevator mechanics, railroad conductors, oil drillers. Over the road, right, we call OTC drivers. These are truck drivers that drive the big trucks we call semis or tractor trailers. And they are good paying jobs in the US. Petroleum pump system operators, nuclear technicians, power plant operators, and construction managers. So their jobs range up from $55,000 to $100,000 a year. Now let's look at an example, okay? We have a 3-member family, 2 adults and 1 child. Their monthly costs are considered in the middle there at $3,300 per month. One adult works a lower end blue collar job at $11 an hour and earns $1,905 each month. The other adult works a middle range blue collar job, and let's consider a little bit less than the $21.65 we talked about, and say they earn $19 an hour. And they would earn then $3,287 each month. So their combined total is $5,192 each month. Their monthly cost of living is $3,300. So each month they can earn $1,892 more than what it costs for them to live. However, here in the US, we have gross pay and net, or what we call take-home pay. Gross pay is what you earn before you pay the taxes that you must pay here in the US. And net pay is the money that you actually take home. And that's why we call it take-home pay. So to keep this simple, for the worker that is making that $1,905 a month, after they pay their taxes, their take-home pay would be approximately $1,600 each month. For the worker who is making the $3,287 per month, their likely take-home pay would be about $2,761. The more money you earn, the higher your tax rate. But we can talk about that later. And to keep it simple for now, just know that this family's monthly actual take-home or net combined pay is about $4,361. So really, their monthly costs are $3,300, and the money that they've earned and kept is $4,361. So they would have a little more than $1,000, $1,050 each month more than what their costs of living are. Another thing to keep in mind is that it's always good to set money aside to see a doctor and to, let's say, go to a dentist. Our next video we'll talk about healthcare in the U.S. All right, but for now, for here, it would be recommended, if you can, to consider the costs to see a doctor, and even if it's just for a checkup, and to go to a dentist, even just to have your teeth cleaned, for a family of 3 people is considered at no less than $700 a year, or $58 a month. So still, you're earning more money in this example than what your costs of living are. Now, the other category of worker is called white collar. And white collar also sometimes means the laptop class. And this refers to professionals who work in an office and are not paid by hour, but earn an annual salary. They are not responsible for physically laborious work. And employees looking to hire these workers often require the worker to have attained higher education, a college or university degree, or equivalent, experience in that particular job sector, what that particular work is. And examples of white-collar workers include lawyers, accountants, corporate executives, doctors and nurses, wealth managers, stockbrokers, advertisers and marketers, healthcare providers, office managers, what we call recruiters that are looking to find people to fill jobs, salespeople, financial and data and analysts, engineers, software developers, investment bankers, management consultants, human resources professionals, and so on. So, sample of how much white-collar workers earn. Let's say a lawyer working its second or third year, they would make between $70,000 and $140,000 a year. A software engineer, even on his or her first job, what we call entry level, would earn about $70,000 a year, and over time they could make as much as $175,000 a year. Accountants earn between $50,000 and $70,000 a year on average. Nurses, that's a very good job in the U.S. And there's a need for nurses in almost every city in the U.S., just as there are almost in every country in the world. And there are 2 levels of nurses, but nurses earn between $48,000 and $70,000 a year. It's a really good job here in the U.S. Doctors on the lower end make $120,000 up to $250,000 a year and more. And corporate executives, the higher ups in the bigger corporations, make hundreds of thousands of dollars. So obviously, these workers enjoy much higher pay and have a higher lifestyle. In both cases, in what is called the American dream, the money earned above the cost of living is often saved for some future date to buy a house. And that's the American dream, to own your own piece of land and a house. In best situations, the money earned above your monthly costs, you can not only buy a house, but also make some investments, perhaps in the stock market or real estate, with the hoped for expectation that the money you invested will return to you at some future date more money than what you originally put in. And finally, there are what is called G-I-G, gig workers. And gig workers are best described as people who provide their own service. Generally, they are their own little business. Examples of gig worker jobs are DoorDash or Uber Eats, Grubhub, and Instacart drivers, and almost any pizza shop will have an opening or a job for a pizza delivery driver. Your job is to pick up food either from the grocery store or the restaurant and deliver it to the customer. Other gig worker jobs are dog walkers, nannies and babysitters, package delivery drivers, and particularly skilled jobs. So maybe you are an artist, perhaps a graphic artist, and you can advertise yourself and get various jobs we call one-offs. You might get a job with this company for a particular project and then get a job with another company for a particular project. Others might be a photographer. You're a skilled photographer, and you can do the same as the artist I just described. Maybe you are a massage expert, what we call a massage therapist, and you can offer your services to different businesses or individuals. And these jobs are kind of special in that you can set your own hours. All right, you can say, I'm going to work 4 hours today. And if it's an at-home job, like a remote job, you can, in a skilled job, you're the artist, photographer, you stay at home and you pick whatever hours you want. For the delivery jobs, the food, for example, at DoorDash, Uber Eats, pizza delivery, and so on, you can say when you're available to work. So you set your own hours and you can set your own days. Now, many of these jobs require you to have a car. Now, some don't, dog walkers and nannies, for example. But the ones that do require you to have your own car, you pay your own gas. But now, gig workers can earn, on average, about $33,000 a year or $2,750 a month. Please see a really good link that I've included here in the About section, all about gig working and gig working jobs. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this video and it has been helpful to you. Also, as I do, I've included a number of links in the About section talking about workers' pay in the U.S., and I hope that you may use them and they can be helpful to you. In our next video, I will share with you about health costs and health care in the U.S. Possibly, hopefully get into retirement benefits for senior citizens, people over 65, also included. Also, please click on like, give me a thumbs up, and perhaps subscribe if you find my information helpful. As always, I thank you. It's my pleasure to share with you, and I look forward to seeing you the next time. Bye for now.